San Francisco has a packed ballot. Brooke Jenkins has challengers for district attorney. There are several supervisor races and dueling housing measures. Joining us live now is Annie Gaus, senior editor with the San Francisco Standard, to talk about the San Francisco election. Annie, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Before we get into the specific races, we learned today from the director of San Francisco's election department that they won't be counting any ballots tonight, like the ones that people voted on now. So basically, we'll just, I guess, see mail-in ballot results. What does this mean? Like, why are they doing this?
Yeah, well, what I gather is that this is basically just a really big ballot. It's 5 pages instead of, one, like we've seen in past elections. And that means that it just takes more time to count them. We do know that the first batch that we'll see reported will be preliminary results based on ballots that were mailed in prior to Election Day. But it should be, probably a pretty substantive chunk of total votes, because in past elections, we've seen that like around 90% of people end up voting by mail. So, whatever it is, it should be a good chunk of votes. But we'll also know more tomorrow about how many outstanding ballots there are still to be counted.
Right. And maybe in the super close races, we may not be able to get that call tonight. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to zoom out a little bit before we zoom back in. It seems like we have a real test of whether voters approve of the governance of their city and their mayor with the issues on the ballot here. What do you think?
Yeah, well, we've seen in poll after poll, including our own poll, that people are just really fed up with San Francisco government right now. We polled key institutions and elected officials, almost all of them completely underwater. People are really mad about the state of affairs in the city, and we've already had 2 recall elections this year, and we'll see what happens this cycle. But people will have an opportunity to weigh in on all sorts of things, including several appointees by the mayor to the school board and to the district attorney's office, and a range of issues, ranging from housing to, taxes and issues in JFK Drive. It kind of runs the gamut this cycle, and I'll be very curious to see how it goes.
Yeah, the mayor has put her stamp on so many of the races. Like you said, she has a lot of appointees, the school board, the DA, and also she has endorsed certain issues, including the housing one. So it is, it's not a referendum, but definitely she has a lot at stake here. So let's dive deeply into a couple of these. So the housing one, you have 2 competing propositions. Talk about those.
Yeah, so these are 2 propositions, D and E. And, if you just look at the names, they sound very, very similar. They both have affordable housing in the title. One is called, I think, the Affordable Housing Now, and the other is called the Affordable Housing Production Act. So it's very likely that will confuse a lot of voters. I can tell you anecdotally, I've heard from a lot of people, friends, saying, like, what are these 2 things? What do they mean? But they differ a lot in the fine print. And this has been a really ferocious battle. A lot of money has been raised particularly on the Prop D side. And they also tried to get the other Prop E tossed off the ballot. The supporters of Prop D, which is also backed by the mayor, they say that their proposal will result in a lot more affordable housing. The idea is to streamline affordable housing production in the city. Supporters of Prop D, they kind of tacked more caveats on the way they want to do affordable housing streamlining. They say their way is more fair. But like I said, I expect that this one will confuse a lot of people, and we'll see how it turns out. But basically, if both pass, whichever gets the more votes will be nullify the other one. So, we'll see what happens between D and E, but, it could play a big role in how much affordable housing gets built in future years.
All right, Annie, thank you so very much for your expertise and time today. I do appreciate it.
Thanks.
And you can check out more at the San Francisco Standard's other original reporting and a lot of local political reporting on their website, sfstandard.com. And ABC7 will continue to bring you more segments featuring the Standard city-focused journalism. Look for that twice a week right here on Getting Answers at 3 p.m. And tonight they'll be part of our election live stream coverage that begins at 8 p.m. You can watch that with our ABC7 Bay Area app on your phone or smart TV. Join Liz Kreutz, Dan Ashley, and Phil Mateer for that coverage. We'll be right back.